Okay, exciting advances in new battery storage technology. How tech companies and entrepreneurs are opening up new ways to generate revenue from batteries. So basically, it's a great time at the moment to be going through battery storage. Batteries are obviously a hot topic at the moment for all things renewables and energy savings. The questions we get asked almost daily are how is battery technology coming along? Are they becoming cheaper? It's a time to buy batteries at the moment, and the answers are starting to become yes on all fronts at the moment, just because of the exciting new ways that you can actually generate revenue from these batteries in a whole heap of different settings. So I just thought this is a very deep topic, so I thought I would just touch over a couple of key points to start with, and then we can delve into each of the items. Spinifex Energy, we're a full service energy consultancy firm doing energy brokerage, saving money for businesses with solar power, energy storage, battery storage, and energy broking. We work across most sectors: office towers, government high rises, industrial sheds, and agriculture, and including hospitality across the country. So we deal with your local businesses as well as your larger multinationals. Righto, so jumping right into it, the battery storage horizon is now here. It's no longer a horizon. So in short, we've got the battery technology to start using it in a way that's going to save businesses money and generate revenue for others. You know, we've already discussed the different types of technology in batteries. We've got lithium, which is your most popular at the moment. We've got hydrogen, which is becoming more of a commonplace scenario at the moment. We've also got lead acid flow batteries as well. So there's a whole heap of different types of batteries, but in short, what they can do for businesses, all the technologies can basically do the same thing. They just have a few different ways that they can store and distribute energy across. So we'll dive into FCAS. What is FCAS? Energy arbitrage, spot pricing in the NEM, the National Electricity Market, peak demand shaving, and virtual PPAs. So these are just a couple of the main points that you can start using your batteries to generate revenue at the moment. The new horizon. There are already new proven revenue generating ways to utilize your solar power and battery storage systems. The old way was put your solar on your roof and it would save you money on your electricity bills. Still very viable. We've still got lots of government grants and government incentives. Still a very viable way of reducing energy expenses. Every day of the week we're installing large solar systems on businesses to do just that. But battery storage is now another option to add on to your renewable energy system that can start generating you some additional revenue. So this is actually happening now. There are batteries out in the field that are operating under these new models. You know, it used to be only you install a battery, it would charge using your excess power from your solar system, and it would discharge when you're using in excess of what your solar is generating. So very simply put, your solar system charges your battery during the day and it powers the business during the day, and then as the lights come on at night and the sun goes down, solar stops working, your battery discharges all of its stored energy until it's empty, and you're saving using grid energy via that stored energy. So that was mostly how batteries were used. The new options that are available to businesses can actually generate revenue in different ways other than just your energy arbitrage. Like any industry, there will be a declining value and declining margins as saturation of battery storage happens. The thing that's playing in the advantage of these revenue generating options for batteries is a lot of them are based on grid instability. So oversupply, undersupply, events in the market, so storms, fires, faults of current generators or renewable energy, wind farms, solar farms, faults that cause a fast and significant decline in generation, or vice versa, an event that's caused an oversupply of load in the market. So as technology improves, It'll only improve the ways that we can use solar power and battery storage to generate revenue, as well as tech that goes alongside it. So what is FCAS? FCAS is your frequency controlled ancillary services. So in simplistic terms, the Australian electricity market is divided into two main categories: regulation services and contingency services. The frequency control services will help the grid stability and making sure that load or generation matches load. So generation matches load. There are 8 services under the FCAS, which are basically 4 services. One is to raise and one is to lower. So if we're looking at your regulation raise, maintain system frequency by increasing generation or reducing load when the frequency is below a normal level. So we've got the 2 services there: regulation raise, regulation lower. So if the frequency of the grid is below its normal level, you can discharge energy into the electricity market, discharge energy into the NEM to raise the frequency, and vice versa, either decrease generation or increase load to reduce the frequency. And then you move into the contingency services. So these are basically the same principle. There are raise and lower services, and they're split into 3 categories. So fast, slow, and delayed. So what that means is fast raise, provide rapid response, so an increase in generation or a reduction in load within 6 seconds of a significant frequency drop. So if there is a drop in generation, or coal-fired power station that goes offline for whatever reason, if there is a mishap or if there is a fault in a wind farm turbine or a solar farm, there is a drop in generation in the market. If you have a solar power and battery storage system on your business, you can discharge within 6 seconds of that happening and get paid a certain amount of revenue for that service. Now, that's a very basic way of explaining it. So that's the raise. The lower is obviously the reverse of that. If there is too much wind or not enough load when the sun is at its highest in the middle of the day and there's too much solar being generated, and the grid can't, and the generators can't reduce that generation to match load, there is a fast lower. So can you charge your battery at this particular time within 6 seconds of us requesting that to happen? If you can get paid for the volume of energy that you're able to take out of the NEM. So that's 6 seconds, slow raise, slow lower. It needs to happen within 60 seconds, and then your delayed response is your 5 minutes. So there are obviously different rates for all of these 6 services, but in short, that's a very quick overview of a very complicated FCAS market. What's involved in becoming an approved participant? In the past, it has only been electricity retailers that have been able to trade in the FCAS, but more and more we're seeing businesses that have the ability to install a certain volume of solar and battery storage go through the process of becoming a participant. So you need to go through the process of approval with AEMO, you need to register your entity, and then you need to participate as a certain category, whether that be a generator, a customer, a small generator, an aggregator, or market ancillary services provider. Once you've gone through that paperwork, which can take some time, there are obviously your technical requirements. A lot of that is basically around having the right size system and the ability to actually perform these services as stated. So do you have the ability to discharge a certain volume under a certain time frame into the market? That's what you need to set up so you can actually become a participant. Helpful starting points. There are a couple of companies in the market. You can get in touch with us to start talking you through the process of doing some modelling and having a look at what that involves. Energy arbitrage. It's a little simpler way of utilising your solar power and battery storage system. So what are the basics? Utilising your energy storage. So in the wholesale market, if you have the ability to, if you think about the price of power, and we'll just go and have a quick look at what the NEM looks like. You've obviously, this is generation across the whole NEM over the course of a 3-day period. You've got your solar during the day, which is in your yellow. You've got your wind, which is constant, just depending on the weather. And then obviously your darker are your coal generators operating quite consistently. They have predictability around reducing generation during the middle of the day when the solar's happening, and we've always got a plan for this peak of an evening when everyone gets home from work. But at every point in this market, the cost of wholesale energy is different. So if you're a retailer buying electricity, you need to, and you're selling it to customers at a fixed rate, you've actually got to predict these ebbs and flows in pricing. Now, you can actually become, there are retailers that will allow you to participate and buy energy at wholesale prices. So if you have the ability to use your solar power and battery storage system to predict when the market is going to be extremely expensive, which is usually in these peak periods, you want to have your battery full and use your battery for discharging energy into your operation during those peak times. And then during the middle of the day, you can actually find that the cost of power is in the negatives or very low at certain periods in the market. So if you have the ability to set your business up to use energy from your battery storage system when necessary, you'll have the ability to reduce your power bills significantly or completely, as well as potentially getting paid to charge your battery when wholesale prices are in the negative, and then when wholesale prices are peaking, you're discharging your battery. So that's a overcomplicated way of explaining energy arbitrage, but it's using your battery to charge in periods of extremely negative pricing and discharge in periods of peak pricing. This is a period in the NEM. Here we can see back in May, these little sections here are periods of the day when wholesale pricing was in the negative. So if you had a battery storage unit on your business and was charging it at this time, you would have been receiving income under this particular trading model during these two periods here. And you can see the difference in pricing here. So this is well into the negatives, negative 100, close to, well, negative $80 a meg. And then a few hours later, it would be almost to the $300 a meg. So quite wide swings in pricing across the NEM, which is brought about by the volatility, the unpredictability of generation as well of renewable assets. So you can see how these problems can arise where ebbs and flows in generation and ebbs and flows in load can create these interesting markets to trade in. Peak demand shaving is a more basic way of using your battery storage if you have a business that has really high predictable peak loads. So if you operate a tyre manufacturing facility where you need to turn all your heaters on to melt the rubber at 4 o'clock in the morning, that spike might be enormous, but it might only be for 5 to 10 minutes. The way you get charged on your power, however, is you get charged for that high peak of 400 kVA or whatever it may be for that 5-minute period, but you get penalised for it for the entire month. So if you've, and of course at 4 in the morning, there's no sun in the sky, your solar system doesn't give you the ability to reduce any of that peak load, even though it is for 5 minutes. So you can start using a battery storage system to turn on when you know you're going to be using this extremely high load, and that will reduce that load, if it's a big enough battery, back down to zero almost for that 5-minute period, and that will flatten out your peak demand and reduce your costs enormously. It's just another way of utilising a battery storage system to reduce costs other than just charging and discharging with excess power. So To use this peak demand shaving, you'll need to be able to manage your loads. So you'll need to either know when your loads are, whether they are going to be at specific times each day. But once you know that, you can actually automate the controls with some clever technology and automate that process. Virtual power plants have actually been a bit of a buzz catchphrase for quite some years now, but they're actually out in the market at the moment. So what are they? In short, a virtual power plant is a central aggregator that buys generation, buys and sells electricity to customers, and uses their battery storage systems in very similar ways that I've discussed earlier in this video. Whereas, let's just assume you have 50 houses in a suburb with a 10 kilowatt hour battery each. If all of those batteries are linked in to the virtual power plant, the retailer in that instance can request 1 kilowatt hour of electricity be discharged from all of the household's battery systems into the electricity market. They buy that for a high price from the homeowner. So the homeowner gets a large benefit out of having the battery. They get some revenue out of the battery for actually having it, reducing the payback period of the investment. And the retailer gets a benefit out of it for not having to buy energy from the wholesale market during extremely high peak times. So it's trading on the exact same market as the FCAS, but it's utilizing a virtual storage network. So batteries don't have to be in the same suburb. They can be anywhere in the NEM. Better to be in the same state, but they can be located all around the country. And it is a total volume as long as the programming is right, as long as the technology behind the virtual power plant is working correctly. They can trade in these markets, or even trade for themselves if they're a retailer, by charging and discharging batteries virtually located all in unison. So that's a muddled description of how a virtual power plant works. So there are residential VPPs, so customers can ring up Origin Energy, say, I have a solar power and battery storage system on my home, I have 10 kilowatt hours of storage, can I join your network? You then become an Origin customer, and on your bills moving forwards, Origin will then have another line item of income based on how much they've either charged your battery during the day, during these events, or discharged during the similar events. Commercial and industrial VPs are almost identical to the residential in the way that there is just an additional income stream coming from these storage systems. Why commercial and industrial are a lot more interesting is because the bigger your site, the more space you have for a larger battery, and the more viable it becomes to become a participant on your own in these FCAS services. But in the first instance, you can join a virtual commercial or industrial VPP, similar to and government community VPPs are very similar as well. But there is significant benefits for everyone now with battery storage on grid stability and cost savings. Okay, so if you want to discuss any of that information further, please don't hesitate to jump on our website, hit us up on email, or make a call. Happy to discuss any and all of that video, and love to have a chat.